Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the Musings of Maverick channel. I'm your host Maverick, and today we're going to be watching episode 1 of Sakura Wars the Animation. So, if there are any new friends around here, just to give a quick introduction to my channel, I typically structure all my videos into 3 different parts. For the very first episode, I'll typically have a sort of introduction to introduce the background of the anime at the beginning. Subsequent episodes, I'll have a recap. In the middle portion, I will have my blind reactions, so you can watch along. And finally, at the end of every single video, I will have my review/discussion session, where I dive a little bit deeper into the various topics or concepts or mechanics that the anime presents within that particular episode. And there will be timestamps below, so just watch whichever part that you would like. So, this being the first episode, let's talk a little bit about the background of this franchise, right? And boy, that is a big can of worms to open. So, Sakura Wars is a very storied game franchise, basically. I think the original came out like more than 20 years ago, and it's one of those OG works that are just classic, right? Even me, I'm a pretty big gamer actually, although I am mostly a PC gamer. Well, actually, I should say I'm nearly 100% a PC gamer. So sadly, I did not really have much connection with Sakura Wars. I know the later generations did have PC versions of it, but you know, that's how it goes with these kind of things, right? You didn't play the first one, you weren't really a fan in the first place, so you kind of just missed this opportunity. But even so, even though I have never played a single Sakura Wars games in my life, this series being as huge as it is, you can't help but to know a lot of surrounding information in regards to it, right? Including, you know, the background of the story, the concept of it, and what it actually is all about, right? So the game itself is, I guess, best described as a gal game, combined with, you know, your sort of strategy games. If any of you guys play stuff like Super Robot Wars, you would know what I'm talking about. It's basically where, you know, you're basically, it's more of a strategy game, or what are some other sort of good ones to say? Say something like Fire Emblem, something like that. I think that might be the best sort of description of it. So during the battles, you go around, you know, you move to different squares on the map, and then you use your various abilities and whatnot, and that is that, right? However, it has a normal I guess sort of a daily life section as well, where you can romance the various different ladies that there are, and choose who you want to be with, right? Who you want to raise your relationship with, and eventually become lovers in the end. I guess in some sort of way, to use a more modern sort of game franchise, maybe Persona, something like that. Lots of stuff that is similar in that regard. However, I think, you know, one of the things that makes this series most unique, and something that definitely caught my attention as well, is in a few things, right? First of all, it's a mecha kind of series, although the mecha aren't exactly the sort of super high-tech mecha that we see in, you know, most mecha animes, right? It's more of a steampunkish kind of mecha, and the designs are more reminiscent of something like SD Gundam. I don't know how many of you guys know of that, but basically like chibi mechas, chibi robots, instead of those huge overbearing ones like, you know, your normal Gundams or you know, your normal mechas and whatnot. So that's one thing going for it, and one thing that's special about it. I think the most interesting about it, however, is the concept of the Revue. So in Japan, there is this thing called the Takarazuka Revue, which is basically a sort of musical troupe. Basically, they are a group that holds musicals, and they're entirely comprised of women. So they have a huge cultural impact in Japan, actually. So it's something that, I guess, it's very revered in a sense. Think of it as the Broadway of Japan. I think that's the best way to describe it, except that it's literally all females, right? And they stage their plays and whatnot, and it's a big thing. And Sakura Wars actually plays on that and has all the main characters, beyond fighting against evil, piloting the mechas. Actually, in their day-to-day lives, they are the actresses in these reviews, right? So a very kind of weird blend of this sort of staging a play and then actually going out and fighting evil at the same time, but hey, it works, it's interesting, right? I guess a more modern take on the review concept would probably be Starlight Revue. You know, it's also quite a nice little franchise in its own right, although they don't really pilot mechas, right? And it's more, how should I say? It's not really one where you do battle with other people. Whereas in this case, they're piloting mechas to fight against evil and save the world. So, anyways, that's the basic background of it. So you can expect mechas. You can also expect expect some romance. I'm thinking. After all, the original series was kind of a gal game in the sense that you could romance all these different female characters. I guess you could easily put the harem tag on this as well. At least if it does follow the in the footsteps of its forefathers, right? Now, the interesting thing about this particular generation is that, first of all, its name, you know, the game just came out last year, I believe, and it's named Shin Sakura Wars, which is New Sakura Wars. So typically with these kinds of things, you would think that, hey, is this like a reboot of the franchise? And I guess you could say it is, and you could say it's not at the same time. The funny thing about this is that so I was looking up the backstory to this particular generation because I was curious as to how it relates to the previous generations, right? So apparently what they tried to do is, I guess, something of a soft reboot. Basically, they killed off all the characters from the previous generations, let some time go by, and now they have this new set of characters here. Even though they look very eerily similar to all the original cast. Like, seriously, like, the female lead in this new generation is also named Sakura. The same Sakura as was the main female lead from all the generations past, right? So, I guess it's their way of saying, no, this is not a reboot, but at the same time, it is a reboot, right? So, even though it follows in a sense, it's a sort of sequel to the original generations, it's just trying to make all, you know, rehash the same sort of characters and settings and whatnot, and package them in a sort of new setting. But, you know, in essence, it is still the same. But yeah, anyways, I think that's enough about the sort of background of this story. I haven't, you know, it's 7.5 minutes already, and I haven't even gotten into the episode. But I just thought it would be doing this franchise a disservice if I don't at least talk a little bit about the impact and well, I guess I didn't really talk about the impact, but what the series is actually all about, right? And why it's so beloved by so many people, especially those of an older generation. I guess closer to my generation, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, so, is the anime itself going to be any good, right? Now, I do see some initial reviews. A lot of people are complaining about the CGI and whatnot. It's being made by the same studio that makes Bang Dream, so, you know, I'm quite familiar with their works, as I am a big fan of the Bang Dream franchise. So, I think I can accept the CGI here, and, particularly when looking at the promotional videos, I think it also reminds me of Kotobuki, which I did a few seasons ago. So, I think, you know, it's something that I can easily get used to. As long as the story is good, and the action is good, you know, I'm not going to complain too much over that. And of course, the cast list is stellar. It's the same cast that did the games and whatnot. To me, the most funny thing is actually Sakura Ayane voicing the character of Sakura. So Sakura voicing Sakura. I don't know, it's just kind of funny to me. But anyways, let's get into the episode and see if this animation is actually any good. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. I should probably also mention I've already heard the new theme song for this, which is a sort of rearrangement, should I call it reimagining? Building on the very iconic theme song of the original generation, Geki Teikoku Kagekidan? Alright, starting the review already? Alright, those are the enemies, I believe. Like I said, they are fighting against evil. Well, hello. On God. Oh. And who are you? Hey. Those are the mechas that I'm talking about. I'm guessing these are members of the Revue. Although I'm not really sure which Revue they are from. The original series, you know, it was more of the Japanese Revue. I think it was set in Kyoto. And I do recall that they later on went to Paris and New York as well in subsequent generations. Ah, here we go. Dance on a stage and fight. And yeah, this is the new Revue. Man, it sure reminds me so much of the original Sakura. Alright, and here we have the theme song. It was actually rearranged by the original composer for the original song. And I see a lot of, you know, old fans complaining about it. Personally, I think they each have their charm. It's a modern take on it. That's all I can say. It's much more flashy than the original. Hashire. You gotta sing, I should. 少年期は La 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 la. Yeah. The new combat review. Now, I do wonder if any of these new characters have any sort of relation with the OG characters. So, in the review, they have people who are they have the female characters and those that play the male characters. We can see Anastasia there is probably the one who is plays dad of the male. By the way, flower division in the actual Takarazuka review is typically where most of the stars are. I think they are the most famous. Or is that Star Division? Hmm. This dude? Huh? Seems to be this dude. Alright, so are you the male lead? It's the captain of this new review. Alright. That actually looked kind of familiar. I mean, I'm gonna have to apologize if I don't catch maybe any Easter eggs that they put in if it's related with the original series. Like I said, I have surrounding knowledge of it, but I haven't actually played the series myself. Except I know some of the characters and also from some crossovers. Come on. Well, I guess this is reminiscent of the original generation. Ichiro definitely got all the girls. Wait, was this the one who was kidnapped in the beginning? The girl that they were rescuing or something? Oh, are we actually gonna get the? Are we actually gonna get the full play as well? Oh, not bad. I'm gonna have to mute these parts though. I'm worried that I'll get copyright struck. And here's the one who plays the males. No, at least someone is impressed. Alright, so just a little taste of it, I guess. Girl, there's only 5 people. You really think they don't know this? Man, she even dresses like the original Sakura. This is probably the commander, right? General manager, probably also the commander of the Imperial Review. some big sisters. Girl, get your head in the game. Wow. Hmm. Oh. Immediately? Talk about good timing. And here we go. The evils of the world. Alright, let's see how they do the actual battle scenes. To get the girl. Hmm. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like they look a little bit more advanced than what I remember. Like, then again, they are marketing this as a sequel, right? So some years have passed since the original generation. It makes sense that their technology level also increases a bit. That looks like an opening animation once you do a battle encounter. No, they're in Tokyo now? Well, actually, was the original series in Tokyo or Kyoto? Hmm. Ooh. Nice. I feel like that was a little bit too fast and too easy. I mean, if she was originally of the Moscow Combat Review, Well, I guess she did lose her memories. But shouldn't that sort of jar some memories from her? You were part of this, girl. Oh, so we're actually not going to be seeing him for some time? She's like, I gotta play the mother role. Alright. That was an okay first episode. This is Sakura Ayane singing, I believe. Yeah, that's her voice. Since this is the first episode, I'll sit through the ending. Okay, it's the entire review singing together. I kind of forgot who the rest of the voice actors are. I believe Maya, Uchida Maya was in there. Right, right. Alright. See you guys after this. Alrighty, so that was the first episode of Sakura Wars the Animation. And all things considered, I'd say this is a pretty good introductory episode for those who might be new to the franchise or doesn't really know what the franchise is about right now. I explained to you guys a lot of the concepts already in the introduction part, but if not, we can get a general understanding just by watching this first episode, right? So the basics of it is that they are this group called the Imperial Combat Revue, and normally they put on these sort of musical plays, these review plays, and whenever demons come out, they pilot these mechas and battle them, right? And that's basically the entire context of this group. And really, what more to say, right? We can see them utilizing both their strengths in this particular episode, where they showed us some of their review plays and they showed us some of their combat as well. Now, if I were to criticize anything, I'd say both of those were a little bit too short. Honestly, I would have loved for them to maybe go on even a little bit further with the review part or also the battle part as well. Particularly for the battle animations, like, I don't really have any problems with the character designs, the CGI or whatnot. I will say, however, I feel like the battles were not as impactful as I was hoping. So the abilities themselves were cool, don't get me wrong, and the mecha that they're piloting are cool. I forgot the exact terminology that they're called. I think Steam something. But they, I feel like their blows and whatnot just lack impact. It feels more cartoonish, if you will, instead of being a sort of mecha anime. And I feel like that is really to the detriment of the action portrayed in this episode. So I don't know if this is going to be a recurring theme, and maybe in future episodes, once we get more higher level enemies, maybe we will get some better animated combat scenes. This is just a quick showing of their strength, right? So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Now, as for the rest, I guess again there are a lot of similarities. You guys can just go Google, the original character designs for the first generation Sakura Wars, and you'll see what I mean when I say that there's a lot of deja vu going on in terms of the character designs, the different tropes that they represent, yada yada yada. Now, with that being said, of course there are a lot of differences as well. They're not exactly the same, right? Except that they have, I guess, they fill similar roles to the original generation. Not that I was ever that, like I said, not that I was ever that deeply knowledgeable about the original generation, but I've heard some things here and there. With that being said, though, I think one thing that is a little bit different here is first of all, the male lead, Seijuro, or I think that's what he's called. I get the feeling that he's a little bit more slick and, how do I say it? He's more ikemen, he's more polished, if you will, than Ichiro was, the main character of the original series. And, well, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. He definitely, Ichiro, he was definitely more of the good guy type, right? And sort of rough around the edges, a little bit, how can I say it? Not exactly the, you could see him faltering, you could see him mess up, you can see him doing some funny stuff, right? This new dude, however, I don't know, he seems a little bit too well composured for that, so I'm not sure how I feel about that as a male lead. And then again, I'm not really sure how often he'll actually be on screen, considering that this is probably going to be more of a story in regards to the rest of the girls and whatnot. But still, I feel like that is a big difference here. That I don't know. I kind of prefer the sort of male leads that are valuable in a way, so that we can make fun of them, so on and so forth. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll open up in the later episodes. This is just the first one, and he's trying to put up an air of importance, right? So we'll see. And also another different thing here is that it seems we are pretty set on the actual character pairings here. It's going to be Sakura and Seijuro. Because, the rest of the girls, they seem to know her relationship with him, and, from their dialogue, it doesn't seem that they are gonna be in competition or whatnot. So that's already another thing different from the other series, where it was more of a harem work, where, you don't really know who's gonna win out in the end, even though there is a clearly defined main female lead, which is, for the past generations, was Sakura. So it goes... it would make sense that in this generation it's Sakura as well. But yeah, and that was basically what I felt about this episode. Honestly, I feel like this is getting way too much hate on my anime list and whatnot. It's definitely it's nothing special, if you will. I mean, at the core of it, Sakura Wars is a pretty straightforward kind of franchise, right? There's these evil dudes, evil demons and whatnot, you foil their plans, and then during your daily lives, you find a way to get the girl. And that's basically it. There's nothing particularly deep about that. If there's any sort of deepness within the franchise, it's going to be the character development, the sort of character backstories, how you solve all the girls' problems and whatnot. Not necessarily that of there being this just super deep story to and particular meaning to all of it, right? That's not what the franchise is all about. Now, if they do go a different direction with this particular generation, well, sure, that's great and all, but that's not typically what I'm looking for, or what I expect, and what I expect most fans are looking for when they think of Sakura Wars. So, yeah. And that brings an interesting question as to how exactly they are going to continue on with the series, right? So obviously we have a main storyline here, what happened to the Moscow Combat Revue, restore the memories of this little girl, but of Clara, I mean. But beyond that, what is exactly going to be the day-to-day stuff? Are we just going to simply continue with that route, right? Now, one thing to note is that at the very beginning of this episode, we do see some of the other sort of reviews from all around the world, right? So that is something I think pretty new to this franchise, even though the past ones, we had the main character going around to different cities, different capitals to create the reviews or lead the reviews. I think in this particular generation, they've made it a case where there's reviews, combat reviews, every single, in all the big capitals around the world. And by the way, the Imperial Revue was originally situated in Tokyo, not Kyoto. That was a sort of misunderstanding on my part. I looked it up. But yeah, so, and what was I going to say? Okay, so we do know that this world has lots of different reviews. I think also at the beginning, we do clearly see, the lady who was very well endowed. She's obviously a demon. the other person that was fighting her, though, I do believe that is actually one of the good guys. I think he or she, you never really know, appears briefly in the opening as well with a nice smile on their face. So I'm thinking that that person is probably more on the good side of things. And there is pretty much a clear good side and bad side in Sakura Wars. That's also something, like I said, it's a pretty straightforward franchise. So there's not really any gray around here, okay? But yeah, all in all, I feel like this is definitely something that is interesting. It does have its flaws. The battle could be a lot better. The musicals could be a lot better. But I think this is plenty watchable. I mean, personally, I'm not that disgusted by CGI. So to me, this is okay. Some of the facial expressions were kind of wacky, if I'm gonna be honest. But for the most part, I think it's it does a decent job at all this. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll continue watching on, maybe not. I think it'll depend a little bit more on the story and how they actually make the subsequent episodes. I mean, if the battles still continue to be as lackluster as they are in this one, then maybe I'll have to make a formal decision then. But for now, I think I'll continue watching on at least a few episodes further. So there we go. That's my review of Sakura Wars the Animation Episode 1. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if I missed anything. If there are any Sakura Wars fans out there who are watching this, let me know if there were any Easter eggs that I missed. And if not, I hope I will see you guys next week. Till then, see ya.